And we are live. We don't have to clap.
Because we were already live. Darn it.
Yeah, love it. We'll get the hang of this. We'll get the hang of it.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Pink Flag Podcast. We are doing things a little differently in the present moment. We are live streaming on Twitch. So if this gets a good traffic going, we're going to be doing this a lot more often because this is actually really fun.
I think for the next, hopefully the next month minimum, we can probably start going live 30 minutes before we start recording.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of fun.
Right, for sure.
We'll do some, thank you for the sub, Chef Really. We can start doing some more exciting stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get into our topics for today, huh?
Yes,
we're
I'm
gonna
so
get
excited.
A little controversial. Not too bad. It's not. I don't think it's that bad.
Please don't cancel us.
We're gonna say that every week.
Please don't cancel me.
I think we're gonna say that every single week. Please don't cancel us.
Probably.
But today
we just need to have a compilation video eventually of us going, please don't cancel us.
Oh my gosh, when we make our opening intro, because we will eventually have one of those instead of just us, bantering, talking, whatever, unless y'all like that.
Or me singing.
Yeah, that's our outro, I think. I think we're going to do that. We'll just do a compilation of your singing.
You don't have to be lonely. Can I tell you that I had that little jingle in my head for days after we recorded with the guys?
Yeah, Brandon mentioned to me that he had it also stuck in his head for a few days.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
The Farmers Only song?
Yeah.
Okay,
I love that.
So do you have the
I have it pulled up.
list?
We're good. We're ready to go.
Are we starting with under your text, dude, hold on? And then
yes.
The big paragraph?
Yes, okay. under dude, hold on. So we pulled because Jordan Peterson, I know we've talked about him a couple of times on this podcast. He is such a revolutionary thinker, I think, and especially in regards to modern days. Now, this being said, I have to say, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says, right?
No one should agree. No, and we're going to start by saying this. No one should agree 100% on what anybody says.
Correct.
You need to be a free thinker. You need to have your own thoughts. You need to be open-minded. And
Correct.
You can take bits and pieces for everybody, but then who are you if you believe everything anybody else says?
And something I think is important, and we can talk about it later because one of his quotes kind of ties into it, but I think it's so important to maintain that kind of flexibility in the sense that I have thoughts, mindsets, fundamental testaments, right? Don't hurt people. Those are things that probably aren't going to change. But personal opinions and opinions on popular culture especially, I think it's important to keep an open mind with certain things because whenever you hear different arguments, I've, really come a total 180 multiple times in regards to different thoughts on politics and religion and sexuality and pretty much every major controversial thought. Watch some movies and TV shows from the early 90s. I was watching, I think it was an episode of Friends the other day, and they said something and I was like, ooh, know your audience. That's not.
Yeah.
But then
it would be extremely canceled nowadays. A lot of the shows in the 90s would be considered, I think, very offensive, very insensitive.
Oh, absolutely.
I think a lot of the stuff they say would be flagged.
It would not fly today. Yeah. Not even remotely.
And I actually saw a thing on Facebook today. I think it was talking about Family Guy. One of the voices of Joe, the voice of Joe. The actor spoke out and he's like, I don't apologize for any of the things that I said on Family Guy when we recorded years ago. It was entertainment. It was
correct.
He was like, everyone's just too sensitive nowadays.
But the R word is something that I used to, I'm not going to lie. I used to throw it around grade school, elementary school, middle school, probably high school even.
Unfortunately, it was normal.
Yeah, it was just one of those words. But now one of my friends pointed out the other day, he sent me a video clip of the Master Chief, the Halo TV show, I guess, where apparently they use the R word a lot. And he sent it to me, and it was 3 times in the span of 2 or 3 minutes they use that word.
What are you talking about? Where you need to say it that many times?
I'm just sitting here oh, that's
so stupid.
I don't want to be that person that's ooh, that's offensive. But also at the same time, it's that's probably not really necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could just say it's dumb.
Right. Okay. So to introduce,
That's my spiel on that.
Yeah, so I guess to introduce exactly what we're doing. So we're going to be naming off some Jordan Peterson quotes that are can be deemed pretty controversial, I think. And we're going to just give our 2 cents. And y'all in the chat room, feel free to give your 2 cents as well. And anybody in the comments after post-production.
Love it.
You as well.
Love it. Oh.
And then, pull up on my TikTok. These are definitely going to be posted to TikTok.
Absolutely.
For as long as my account will stay active. Because we never know how long I'm going to last on there. But it's the clips, man. But, alrighty. So, do you want to start with just number 1? Is that one you want to go with? Okay.
Well, I mean, so these are quotes. So the second batch, maybe we start with the second batch.
Okay.
Because it talks about, so we're getting direct quotes and we have the source. Because I also felt like that was kind of important, because sometimes you'll see things where it'll be like a quote that Jordan Peterson said. I wanted to make sure that the quotes that we're using are actual quotes that can be like sourced and referenced in his interviews.
Yes.
So maybe if we start with the second one.
The spirit one? The masculine spirit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, number 1 is...
We ain't going to talk about that one.
Oh, I think we should.
Number 1?
Yeah.
I didn't read that one yet.
It's very controversial.
I love how there's a little explanation.
Oh, I typed...
Oh, you typed your own explanation.
I typed some thoughts.
So I don't really know if I know enough. And that's another thing about having your own opinion. You can say you don't know if you know enough to speak on certain topics.
Yeah.
And I personally don't know if I know enough to talk on
I
that.
want to talk about it because I want to hear the feedback of other people.
Okay.
Because I don't necessarily...
I'll let you lead that one then.
I was going to say, I don't necessarily agree with this. But the quote comes from the interview with British GQ, May 2018. So also keep in mind this was 5 or 6 years ago. So the quote is, "I think the idea of white privilege is absolutely reprehensible. I mean, look at who's controlling the universities. Look at who's controlling the culture. Look who's controlling the media." I think white privilege is absolutely a thing. I'm sorry. I know it's going to be a little backwards. I
think it has to do with culture. I truly think it does.
As a white female, I feel like I have privileges and opportunities that are afforded to me that might not be afforded to other people.
There are certain opportunities, though, that are offered, like in universities and scholarships that are offered to those of color as well that we as white people don't get, which I'm not bashing that at all. But there are, and this is where I'm kind of on that end where I don't think it's necessarily a thing. I think it's, I don't want to get canceled, but I think it's like, it's a cultural thing. I think in opportunities, I think cultures, depending where you grew up, how you were raised, what you grew up in, whether that would be able to cultivate something like of opportunity or not.
Well, I think it's really easy for a 50 to 60 something year old white male who is an academic to say white privilege. The idea of white privilege is absolutely reprehensible.
I don't think it's that it should be that strong on that side.
I think that's an overstep.
No, absolutely
I think
not.
it's a major overstep. Like, I'm not going to say that it's as prevalent as it once was, probably. I feel like there's been a lot done to help even the playing field.
Yeah. Yes, I will agree with that.
But I do still think the good old boy system is a thing. Like, and that goes...
And it'll go... I will agree with you on some cases.
That goes kind of across the board, though, right? Like, I think a lot of times... people of like mind, similar sociological standing, similar backgrounds, similar cultures, like those people are typically going to band together. So as you start looking at like...
I think it's definitely a thing, but I feel like when it's used as an excuse is where...
Oh, absolutely.
That is where is reprehensible, in my opinion. Because I will agree with you that I think if you took two people, same age, same sex, same education level, same experience, and you put them in the same interview for the same position, and one was black and one was white, I do think in that case white privilege would be a factor. I
think it depends on the interviewer and the person hiring.
Yeah, but that's where I would think it could probably come into play. But I do think we have technology now that gives opportunity. I think a lot easier.
I think something that's important to understand and acknowledge too, and I don't think there's really anyone out there who can refuse to acknowledge this, is within the past 100 years, white privilege has really started to shift.
Mm-hmm.
But before that,
yeah,
if you're a white man,
yeah,
you're great.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. So like,
yeah, forget
really the past 100 years, I think we've come very far.
Yes.
In regards, like leaps and bounds in regards to human standards and how we treat other humans.
Absolutely.
However, I feel like there's still a long way to go. And like, I would be super happy to see a place where like color isn't a factor. But I know that racism goes both ways.
It does. It does.
Like it absolutely goes both ways.
It's a factor for every color. It's not a factor for one's. It's not one-sided. That's for sure.
Correct. I mean, every race at some point in time, other than
this commenter. Look at the commenter.
I need my white privilege to kick in. Jesus.
I need my white privilege to kick in.
Do you want to do number 2? I think that's good. We can wrap up on that one before we get officially canceled.
Okay, so number 2. This is something I think we've touched on quite a bit that we can kind of, spiral off of for a little bit. So this quote is from the interview with ABC News in February of 2018. So this is still years ago that he's talking about this kind of thing, and this is where now I think it's kind of starting to blow up with the rise of social media. But the masculine spirit is under assault. It's obvious. It's partly because the feminists have been unbelievably good at identifying pathology wherever it occurs, but especially in men. And men are pathologized? Pathologized. All men by implication. So
I think there's a lot of truth behind that.
Yeah, I do too. I do think masculine roles and masculine energy is being demonized. Like I truly think it's not harnessed the way it should be in a lot of cases. I think people should. I have girls in my comments on my TikToks that say they love their men and their masculine energy, because that means all this stuff. He's strong.
Well, I mean, I know me historically. The attraction level, I am most attracted to the type A men. Those I don't want to call the alpha bros, but typically the take charge, much more masculine men.
Well, you can say alpha because the guys that abuse their masculine power aren't necessarily alpha energy.
I don't like the term alpha because I do feel like that's a little overplayed. I don't think you necessarily have to be an alpha to be in touch with your masculine side.
Yeah, I think alpha should really be used in a relationship setting, in terms of family. If you're gonna talk primal, if you're gonna talk you have a household.
We have the leader.
And you have a dog.
The leader in
you're
the
alpha
household,
to
right?
the dog, right? So I think alpha can be used in that case. But for an example word, I think alpha is a good word to use for.
And it can be. So the whole idea, though, and I feel like. I have a friend of mine who I made a comment. He said something about someone being toxic masculinity. And that's one of his most commonly used phrases is toxic masculinity. And I'm like, okay, so I don't view this quote unquote bro behavior. This is going to be, the drinking, having fun with the friends, stupid dumb stuff that guys do. I don't necessarily view that as being toxic masculinity. Sometimes that's just male fraternization. Yeah. Those videos that go around where it's oh, I think he's cheating on me. And then the video is a bunch of guys that have buried themselves up to their necks in the sand. And they're singing or acting like crabs or something.
Dude, the goofiest shit. I love it.
I mean, I don't think that's toxic masculinity.
No,
I think that's just guys being guys. Now, I think where it goes toxic is when men or people use it as a way to put other people down.
Yeah, when men use it as a weapon, when they abuse their masculine power is when it becomes toxic. But there's also on the other end where if you lack masculinity, I think it's toxic as well.
Oh, yeah. So I know I've made this comment before, but I feel like women that are very masculine presenting They do that because of trauma.
Yes. Oh, it's a trauma response.
That's all because of a trauma response.
Yep.
That's women who have been put in positions where they are forced to pick up the slack that someone else has dropped, where they're forced to clean up messes that other people have made, where they're forced to like
grow up quick.
Grow
like
up
they
way too quickly. They're forced to step out of that feminine energy, and they're forced to like take on that masculine role.
They're forced to take on masculine roles in their life, and that's where, and then it becomes where you get those, I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man kind of women.
You should never need a man.
I will say, you're never going to die alone. You know what I mean? Like, everyone needs men. Men are needed. Point blank, period.
Men are needed in society.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't necessarily have to have a man in my life to live my life. I can open jars. I can do almost everything that needs to be done. However, my life is significantly better by allowing those men to take over those roles that they're more biologically suited for.
Yeah, because if you have like a broken pipe in your house, you're not fixing that.
I mean, I could.
I'm sure you could.
Why should I have to?
You're gonna call a plumber who's a guy. You're gonna call your dad. You're gonna call your brother, or something like that. So you need those male roles in your life.
I've gone on YouTube to figure shit out like that on my own, but that is not my strong suit. I don't feel good about having to do that kind of stuff. It stresses me out. Like, I would much rather call one of the men in my life. I've got my dad, I've got my brother, like, I've got people. I would much, 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 much rather to call someone and say, hey, I need help. Can you come help me? Please help me. Please help me. Please help me.
Well, men really like that too, right?
Yeah.
Like, men love to be the helpers. They love to.
I mean, my brother.
That's part of that masculine role.
My brother's my hero. Like, he fixes my car. He had a baby, so I don't have to have one. So I get to play with her. Like, he's my go-to. Same thing with my dad.
Well, let's get back to the masculine thing being under assault. So also, I feel like, and I've seen so many TikToks. So this is what I do on my TikTok. My algorithm is all this, but I see, men that are overweight, women that are saying it's okay for men to be weak. Okay to, what do you think on that? Because I hate the demonizing of men wanting to work out, better themselves, be in a good mental place. And then you have everybody, like, you have these influencers, even influencers on social media saying it's okay to not want to work out. You have male influencers speaking on podcasts saying it's okay to be overweight. It's okay. Working out is for the birds. Like, men say that. And, like, why would you push such an unhealthy lifestyle on these men when men are built and born and instinctually wanting to be strong, be physically fit? Because that's
so my big question
instinctual
for those men that are not working out, that get into those places where they're not really working, they're stepping into that beta role, they're stepping down,
they're okay with being there, and that's fine.
I want to know, are those people actually biologically fulfilled? Are they actually happy in their lives? I don't think so. As you look at people that are incredibly overweight, you hear them constantly complain, oh, I can't find a good girlfriend. Yeah. Nobody wants me.
Well, or also, how can you be
you're struggling to get around. How
can you be in any sort of good mental standpoint when you are in that physical condition? You literally cannot.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying all people that are overweight are lazy, but in a lot of situations, that's laziness. It's poor planning. It's not making an attempt to make your life better.
And once you get to that point of your life, you are the king of excuses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're the king of excuses. So I also think
that's not what I want in a partner.
Yes, and that's not what women are going to want.
Do you want to know what the sexiest thing in the world to me, and it's something that I practice often?
Self-improvement.
Self-improvement. And taking responsibility for your shit. So I think you and I talked about this yesterday, but I'm a big advocate of saying, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I can do better. I need to do better, and I will do better.
Yep.
I'm a big advocate in doing that, and it's something I practice often, and it's not always comfortable to say.
It's very uncomfortable.
You know what? You're right. I could have done that better. I'm sorry. I'll work on it.
I could have communicated that. I could have said this better. I could have made this clearer.
Yeah. I could have handled that situation a lot better. I didn't. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yep.
That's
So
something.
accountability is huge.
Accountability is huge. And I feel like as people step into that healthy, like divine masculinity, that accountability structure is automatically there. And not just that, but I had this conversation with one of my guy friends the other day. It's also the tendency to hold those around you accountable. And that's something that people need.
Yep,
I have a friend of mine who's going through a poor relationship situation, and it's really because he hasn't stepped into that masculine role. His partner was cheating on him. And at one point in time, she just said, I lost all respect for you.
Can we say again how if your partner, you know, and this isn't always the case, but let's say you're not getting what you need from your partner, you're not getting, we'll just say straight up, you're not getting laid, you're not getting taken care of, she's ignoring you, and this is just going to be the woman's example. Men, have you thought of what you're not doing? Have you thought about what you're lacking in your relationship, what you did at the beginning that you're not doing anymore to woo her?
Well, and women who like those masculine men like to have that accountability and that structure, not rules.
You feel
right?
safe. You
I'm
feel
a
safe
grown-ass woman. I don't need you to give me rules. But when I have a partner who clearly communicates boundaries, expectations, wants, desires, like when I have someone that communicates those things really well for me, and I know exactly where I stand.
Yeah, exactly what you need to do.
I know exactly where my partner's boundaries are. I am so much more comfortable and laid back in that relationship. I have a lot of, I feel happier.
It's a form of validation.
Yes.
And like self-validation. Because
Absolutely.
you know what you're doing is what they need, and so you know that they're not going to possibly waver. And if they do,
I don't
they're
have to
going
read
to
your
communicate
mind.
that. And they're going to and they're going to communicate that.
And I have a strong partner who, if I'm slipping, will rein me in and say, hey, nope.
Yep.
Like,
absolutely.
This is, you know, this is what I expect. And that's sexy.
Yep.
To have someone that does that is really sexy. To have someone that doesn't set boundaries, that doesn't communicate, you know, guidelines, that doesn't have that accountability structure in place.
Yeah.
That will leave a lot of women astray, and it'll leave them a flounder.
You got to be a leader. I'm sorry, but the men, you need to set the tone for that relationship. You really do. And you got to be a good, and I'm not saying the men makes all the decisions lead, but what women are very in tune naturally with what they need, with their feelings, what they need. And men, I feel like, don't like to communicate that as much because they either
especially not in regards to feelings.
Exactly, they hate it, right? It was natural.
Physical needs, they're very easy to communicate.
Really well versed. They think a lot about that.
Those emotional needs,
they don't like to sit with themselves. And you can agree, like, a lot of men don't like to sit with themselves and really think like, why am I feeling this way? Like all this stuff. Like we fucking we self-evaluate that so hard. Like I'll lay in bed for hours and think, oh, how could I have done this better?
Yeah.
What
you psychoanalyze the heck out of stuff.
Yep. And sometimes, I mean, that's why women go to therapy, right? But
I mean, it's why everyone should go to therapy.
Right.
But no, so to circle back around, I do think there should be more masculine role models. It's one of the reasons I love Jordan Peterson. I feel like he's a very healthy masculine role model. Now, again, I will say, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he has to say.
Sure, you shouldn't.
But I think still, in regards to healthy masculine role models, I think he's a good one.
I agree. Do you want to go to number 4? Because I don't know what the other word is. He uses big words.
Yeah, the postmodern neo-Marxism, that's talking about, like, socialism standards. So yeah, we can jump over.
I don't really know much about that.
I don't. Oof. This comes from a Q&A at Lafayette College in March 2017. I don't think that men can control crazy women. I really don't. And I'm wondering what percentage of the audience knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I think in this, I will say, I think in this interview, he was being attacked kind of verbally by some women in the audience. They had a lot of very strong opinions for him. So
I don't know if, like, because what's crazy, right? Like, how do you measure crazy? Like, how do you look at one woman and then look at another woman? That's the crazy one. Like, how is craziness measured? You know what I mean?
Well, I would think it probably has a lot to do with how women carry themselves, how they communicate, and how they react.
How they communicate's a big one. I think that's big.
So one of the big things, and it's something that I have to practice as a female, is I have the tendency to have to, like, I feel like I have to get my words out, right?
Me too.
Especially if I'm mad or I'm upset, I'm like, oh my God, I just have to get my words out. Sometimes that's better done with your girlfriends than your partner.
I mean, or you just, it's all about, you can get your words out. You're supposed to communicate. You're supposed to get your thoughts and your words out. But when you do it emotionally driven, that's where it becomes a problem. So I think, and I don't know about, like, I go to you for some stuff. You come to me for some stuff too. And like, if you can help it, you know, we've talked about this before. You step back, you calm down,
absolutely.
and you come back together. And you come back together, and then you talk about it. Because I know out of personal experience, when I go to one of my girlfriends on an emotional rant, I'm like, hey, I'm going to say every single thing I can say to you to make sure you're on my side.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's all going to be about the bad stuff, right? So I think that...
But sometimes in some situations, so where I like having the girlfriends is in situations where you feel like you're maybe being gaslit. But I think it's really important if you're going to someone to get advice that you not skew.
Yeah.
You not try to create any sort of bias. You just provide facts. Like, one of the things I love about you is you'll send me screenshots.
Yeah, I'm like, this is exactly what happened.
Here is the conversation. And I'm just like, okay, so based off of what I'm reading, and only based off of what I'm reading, here's what I think. And I think that's super helpful because, like, usually you get a little bit of context, you get a little bit of backstory. And, you know, I'm the first one to be like, hey, babe, I think you're overreacting.
Yeah.
Take a step back.
You would definitely call me on my shit.
Cool down.
But I think...
But you have to be careful with, like you said, going to some of those girlfriends where if you're looking for that person that's going to fire you up.
You're just looking for the validation for the most part.
Be very, very careful. Like, those are friends that I'm very hesitant about versus, like, I know I mentioned my brother, but my brother's one of those people that if I'm having, like, male drama, I go to my brother and I'm like, hey, I need some advice. Because he is the first one that will give me a very healthy male perspective. And he'll be like, hey, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying you're right. This is just my opinion on the situation. And sometimes he'll say, you know, based off of what you're telling me and just what you're telling me, I don't have both sides of the story, but this is my opinion. And I do think you're right. I think your feelings are valid. I think that's super helpful to have, but I do also think it's important to be careful that you're going to those people with the good stuff too.
Yes. I'll have to, absolutely. The good stuff outside of that argument, communication, whatever, definitely. But I also think that men, I think calling women crazy is an excuse for not taking accountability for your actions.
It can be.
I think that is one avenue. I think that's one avenue that men take. I think crazy is kind of thrown around for the most part because half the time, what did you do? You know what I mean? Like, as a dude, kind of like come to yourself, be like,
what did you do though?
What did I do though? You know what I mean? To make her think these things. What did I not do?
Well, and so in your, I'm not going to pick on you, but I'm going to say in some of your situations, M has terrible taste in men. Sometimes I love you to pieces, but I don't understand what it is about men that refuse to take accountability, but I am immediately, like, it is the biggest red flag when I hear a man say, anyone, I gotta stop picking on the men.
Yeah, sure.
When I hear someone say, you're overreacting,
you're overthinking
you're being crazy, or you're overthinking it. Those are the top 3 excuses that people that gaslight use. Don't gaslight me. Don't tell me how I'm feeling. And if I'm calling you on your...
This is exactly how I look when you do that. I start laughing and I get mad.
Bullshit, the least you can do is say, oh, you know what? You caught me.
Yeah, why don't you diffuse it? And just be like,
I was trying to play some childish games. Yes, I was on my ex's Instagram. Yes, I liked 2 of her pictures. Was I expecting you to see it? Absolutely. Was I expecting you to call me out on it? No. I was honestly thinking you were going to see that and you were going to work that much harder to get my attention and stay in my good graces, because I think that's somehow how their lizard brains work.
I just think they don't think when they do it. Honestly, they do not think of you when they do it. They just do it because they don't think they're going to have any repercussions.
I think sometimes they do think of you when they're doing it, and
if they're wanting to get back at you at something, I think.
I think some of them, like I'm talking specifically to you. I think some of the things that these men do, they're absolutely trying to get a rise out of you.
And guess what? I don't.
No.
For the most part, I don't.
You just message me and you're just like, really? And I'm like,
look what he's doing. That's what I do. I was like, look what he's doing.
I'm like, oh yeah, maybe we misread this person or this situation, but you know what? Better to learn sooner and not waste a bunch of time.
And that's the thing too, because when you have, and I will say, when I am in a relationship and I am first experiencing the crappy behavior from them, I will work with them with it. I'll be like, hey, this is how I feel. You shouldn't do that. Like, I'll put my emotions into it a little bit because it shows they don't take you seriously unless you kind of do sometimes.
Well, and can we talk about how there's a major difference in a healthy communication from a woman who's upset and a crazy woman?
Yes, absolutely. And I will, you can be upset, ladies. It's okay to be upset while you're communicating because you're hurt.
Feel your emotions.
Hurt. Your trust has been broken. In a lot of my cases, that's what it was. I don't need a lot. I'm a woman, and you guys may think women are needy. They need a lot of attention. They need a lot of validation. And I can speak on myself. I personally don't need that much. I need loyalty. I need to be able to trust you. Borderline, that's it. And I need you to be present. Because until we get to that marriage, dating, move-in point, I just need you to be loyal. I need to know that I can trust you. I need to know that I am not judged whenever I come to you. And I need to know that I'm safe with you. And as long as all of those boxes check off, you could talk to me you couldn't not talk to me for like 5 days and I'd be like, oh, he's probably just going through something. And we come back and we talk about it. Like I'm very, and maybe that's where, I get myself in trouble because I give them a little too much leeway.
That's not, the same thing, that's not setting healthy communication guidelines.
Because we do still communicate. I'm just saying that.
If a guy ghosts you for 5 days and doesn't talk to you, I don't think your first response should be, oh, he's probably going through something. He'll get to me when he can. I think that would be a time where it would be completely healthy for you to say, the least that you owe me in that sort of a situation is to shoot me a text and say, hey, just letting you know I'm going through some stuff.
Yeah.
I'll be here for you, but I need to process some things on my own for a couple days.
Yeah. Maybe that could also just be me at the time being emotionally unavailable. You know, that could also be a factor.
Correct.
Because if you
regularly want to go 5 days without talking to a partner, then you kind of have to accept that.
Then maybe it's also a me thing, you know?
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, I think I am emotionally available enough and I communicate. And all you can really do is communicate how you feel, right?
Well, 100%. So I think some of the big differences in healthy communication and a crazy woman, healthy communication is back and forth. Mm-hmm. That's a banter. That's me expressing clearly how I'm feeling. And I think it's important for women. This is a conversation that I have with my therapist, not to use those definitive terms. You always do this. You always do this. You always do this.
I feel like I have felt like
it's the me and I statements, which is so ridiculous, but I use those in my life.
It's psychological, but it works.
This is how this situation makes me feel. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you don't mean it this way, but when you do this, it makes me feel like you don't care.
Yes, so it's not attacking on them.
And I know I'm not a crazy woman. I know my communication style and method is amazing. Mm-hmm. Especially, I can't say when I'm super upset, because when I'm super upset, I have that tendency to just like...
Everybody acts different, you know, when they're upset.
Shuts down. Like, I don't have those screaming matches with my partner. If I'm upset, I'm probably going to leave the situation.
I'm a fire sign. I'm a fire sign, so I don't have screaming matches, but you will know how I feel, and I will be passionate about it. And again, it's not, I don't ever, and the thing is, it's just what you say. It's how you say it, if you're disrespectful or not, which you should never be attacking. You should never be disrespectful.
Correct.
You should never attack there's women that will have arguments with their man, and they will attack their physical features. Like they'll attack like their personality. Like something that has nothing to do with the actual argument. It was like, we're fucking short anyway. You know what I mean? Like, just like, there's women that will attack.
What's the thing I saw recently?
That kind of thing. And I'm like,
you need to act like your hairline and take a couple steps back before you talk to me like that.
Oh no. See, I would never, and I never have.
I don't date people historically that have bad hairlines, so that's not something that I could use, but like I'm really looking forward. I really just hope at one point in time, like
I'm just looking forward with a man with some good head of hair, you know. just reminiscent.
I just really hope one day I get into a disagreement with a man and I can use that line. You need to act like your hairline and take a couple steps back before you talk to me that way.
You know what's really funny is I could see one of us trying to use that in an argument, and since the sentence is so long, we would probably stumble over the words, and we would mess it up completely. You would be, if you step back,
you step
3
back.
feet.
Shut up.
You know, if you should start acting like, wait, 2 feet,
Hold on. Wait, I ruined it. Rewind, starting over. Yeah, you're probably right, especially if I'm like upset. I don't know. I'm just really hoping that one day I have the opportunity to try to butcher that. But yeah, I agree. So I think women also had the tendency to not let their partner get a word in.
Yes, yeah, that too. Well, also,
it needs to be a healthy discussion.
I've had also in conversations where you will, and this is my biggest pet peeve when having a conversation with my man. I say how I feel, and he turns it around on me and uses it against me.
That's gaslighting?
Uses it against me.
That's gaslighting.
It's like, I don't know why you would even think that I would do that, and then the energy is now back to me.
That's manipulation and
I'm like,
gaslighting.
why can't you? Yeah, I know. I was like, why can't you empathize and not take it personally? It's because they're doing something shady, right?
Oh, I would.
Or it's usually like they don't want to own up to something.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's something behind the
ex,
scenes.
Like, yeah. I went to his apartment. There were pictures of me that were there, like before. I went there one time. They're all magically gone. Oh, and I'm like,
that would send me spiraling.
Where are the pictures? And he's like, huh? What pictures? I'm like, the pictures that were on this wall, where are they? And he was like, oh, I don't know.
My face, where'd it go?
I'm like, well, there were pictures of us and they're not here anymore. So where did they go? Like, you moved them. And then he was like, oh, well, my friend was staying at my apartment.
Oh, I would have broken up. I'm like, you think I'm an idiot?
I'm like, no, because I'm trusting and I give people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm like, you know what? And I got the backstory and I was like, okay, it kind of checks. Text him and ask him where the pictures are, and maybe text him and ask him why he took those down. Like, I don't feel like that's an unreasonable request if that's the truth.
You keep it going.
To
like, okay, well,
message your friend and say, hey, my girlfriend's freaking out right now. Can you tell me where you took those pictures off of the wall? Where did you put those? Because if it's legit and that's what happened, he's going to message you back and go, yeah, you know, the fact that I was trying to sleep and your girlfriend's picture was sitting there was kind of weird, so I moved it on your dresser. So we ended up finding the pictures on the dresser, but I didn't get a good explanation. And that trip was like the worst one about finding the little breadcrumb clues. The girl that he was cheating on me with sent him a message saying, and it popped up on his car screen that said, call me when there's no one else around you. And I was like, what's that? And this is like 2 days later.
I love, you're like, okay, I want to hear it. I actually want to hear what you have to say.
Like, and I literally went, what's that? And he was like, and he's like trying to get rid of it. And I'm like, no. Don't get rid of it. What is that? Call her.
I would call her.
And he was like, no. And that's what I was like, I'm going to call her. And he was like, no, you can't call her. She said to call. And then he like makes up this whole very elaborate backstory about, oh, she's doing this and she's doing this and she's doing this and she's really embarrassed about it and she just needs help.
I'm not going to judge her. Let me give her a call.
So I was like, you know what?
Let me see a girl's perspective. I can probably help her out.
You know what? You have to be able, and I wasn't screaming. I didn't go crazy. I was like, you have to understand where I'm coming from as your partner and why this would be an enormous red flag.
Yeah, be like, we're done, but you got to understand where I'm coming from.
Well, and I was like, if you can't understand why, because he was like, I don't understand why you're so upset. I'm like, if you can't honestly understand why I'm so upset in this situation,
then you're a sociopath.
There's something wrong in your brain.
Yeah.
Because this is well beyond the boundaries of healthy, normal communication. Because he was like, well, you have friends? I said, yeah. And if one of my guy friends called me and sent me this message, I'm going to call him in front of you. If you see it, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, let me set your worries aside.
You see it all the time. Like if I have any tea in my life, my partner knows it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like my partner's going to know all the time. Like, hey, guess what? Hey. Like, who's he going to tell? You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, hey, guess what happened?
Yeah, no, my drama is your drama.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So in those sort of situations, there was major red flags. So like I was mad. We got back to his place and I started like packing my stuff up. I'm getting ready to go home. I was like, nope, I've had enough of this. These are some major red flags. This man sits me down and he was like, we are never going to be able to have a good relationship if you don't trust me. You're acting like a crazy person.
That is the worst gaslighting.
So then, months later, when everything came out, he admitted to cheating. I was like, do you remember the conversation where you sat me down in your room and you told me, like, verbatim? I was like, do you remember that conversation? He was like, yeah. I was like, did you feel like the world's biggest piece of shit while you were doing that?
Yeah.
And he was like, what? I was like, no, I honestly want to know, because if I were doing that to someone that I claim to love and care about, I would be so sick to my stomach.
Yes.
And he was like, well, that was actually why I ended the relationship. I was so guilty and I felt so bad. So like I ended things before you found out about it and found out the truth. I was like, too late. I already knew.
Like, boo-hoo, man.
So, yeah, crazy. There is a difference in women being crazy and women setting healthy boundaries.
Healthy boundaries.
Healthy brownies.
Healthy brownies.
Healthy brownies.
Okay.
Can you tell I'm on a diet? Jesus.
Do we want to go back to that first paragraph and look at these, or is there another one you want to touch on in there?
No, there was another one that was really good.
Dude, number 5 is a little like, it could be used nowadays, I guess, but that's more of like a
this is one of the quotes. I don't have the sources for these, but here's one. The idea that you would just believe something that's fundamental to your identity is an absurd proposition. You shouldn't. Oh, and then later he said you should never fully trust anyone who hasn't been punched in the face.
Hey,
I would say
I don't want to date anybody that hasn't been punched in the face.
You should probably not trust a man who has not been hit in the face, but I'm, as a female, have never been punched in my face.
Me either. Nah, not but.
I mean, I can all but guarantee. Oh, my brother hit me, but I can all but guarantee if someone punches me in the face, that's a quick trip to a short ditch. Like,
you're the queen of sayings. I'm like a short ditch. No, I'll just hit you, you know?
Somebody's gonna, no. See, I am the queen of like sane, calm, but I have very thick lines drawn in the sand.
Absolutely.
Physical altercations with me are a very bad idea. Very, very bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to hit you back. I'm going to shoot you.
Oh,
like,
man.
It is not going to be we're going to have little fisticuffs. No, you come swinging at me.
It's free game.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I've never.
I'm 5'4". I am tiny. I am going to beat no one in a fair fight, right? I mean, honestly,
if I were to pick anyone in our friend group to back me, it'd probably be Lindsay.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to win in a fair fight.
Yeah.
Read between the lines. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lose, but I'm not going to win in a fair fight.
Yeah. No, and
I was. Yeah. One of my first boyfriends, his dad was a Navy SEAL. So there was like one point where I talked about I was taking like self-defense classes, and he was like, "Ha, no, you're tiny. We're gonna teach you how to kill people."
See, what's nice about me is that I've never been in a physical altercation. I have this like hard shell about that. But like, if you could do anything to me and I wouldn't care. Like you could be harassing me at the bar and I would be like, okay, whatever, go away. But if you harass one of my friends One of my, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all. I'm 5'11", I'm 5'10" and a half.
Emma's almost a foot taller than me.
And no one messes. No,
and
no
she
girls have
punches
messes.
harder than most men I know on those punching machines.
I take boxing classes. No,
I get
don't.
like a 600 on that thing if I'm lucky and I'm punching hard. Emma's throwing like 800 points.
Well, like, and I've never hit anybody in my entire life except for siblings.
But she's ready to.
But if it comes to the point where you're hitting my friends and anything physical happens with my friends, you're dying. Emma's getting involved and you're dying. So,
yeah.
But anybody could do anything to me. You could probably hit me. Like a girl could probably just walk up and then hit me, and I'd be like, "Honey, you're a mess." I'd like walk
Go
away.
sit down.
Like, honestly, I wouldn't get mad. But if you pick on my friends, who are all, and I don't know if I see this as like a motherly kind of instinct kind of thing, or if it's like they wouldn't mess with me because I'm bigger, so they're gonna pick on my friends who are just like shorter.
Uh-huh.
And so it's more of like okay, so you're gonna pick on them. How about you pick on me? Are you gonna pick on me?
Come over here.
That's when I walk up. I was like, okay, well, whatever. But because people usually don't mess with me, I will say.
No. Meanwhile, I'm like the spider monkey. Don't mess around.
Right.
I'll come out throwing bottles.
Right.
I don't know.
But I can also. It's so weird because like I've never gotten into a physical altercation with a woman, but I know I could look at a girl and be like, I'm not gonna mess with her. Like I think she knows how to fight. Like
She's probably
fought
seen
before.
some stuff.
I'm not gonna mess with her. But
I've
never
seen
got
some girl
in a fight
fights.
with anybody.
Can we talk? There is a very big difference in male fights and girl fights.
Oh, we're out for blood. Like
girl fights are brutal.
Yeah, men. It's more. I honestly think majority of the time,
then
like
they
men
just want to
fights,
like hit each other, right?
I think it's just like a kind of a dominance thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually like a.
Well,
I can't speak for men,
code
obviously.
of etiquette, right? Like you typically don't hit somebody in the groin. Like once they're down, they're down. Like you don't typically
with girls, it's free game. Girls, it's
no,
free game.
I've seen girls like ripping hair out, ripping earrings, ripping.
Oh my god, just gruesome. And then men will be like,
ripping people's
hey, bro,
clothes
we're cool,
off,
right?
like curb stomping people, which I get because if someone lures me into a physical interaction and I'm having to defend myself, like.
Well, it's because we gotta protect ourselves.
I don't take responsibility
right?
for what happens to you.
Yeah.
However, females, I would never start a physical altercation.
Absolutely. That's not classy at all.
No.
That's very trashy.
No, I have had situations before where girls come up and they're kind of, and I'm like,
I've had a whole ass drink thrown in my face and I've never hit anybody.
I'm like,
what are you doing?
You can go talk that way to someone else. Mm-hmm. I'm not the person. We can have a civil conversation.
I'm not that girl.
I'm not the
girl.
one. We can have a civil conversation. I would love that. If I've done something to offend you or upset you, please come talk to me. That being said, I also have some fundamental rules that I don't break. I don't go after guys that have females already.
Absolutely not. Yes.
Definitely not. I'm not that. I'm gonna take your man. No, I will get my own man.
We have a reputation to uphold, and I will not be that girl.
I am a classy woman. I don't typically talk in a way that's going to lead someone to think that there is going to be a physical altercation. If I'm upset, I communicate my emotions and my feelings in what I consider to be a healthy way. If someone doesn't.
Yeah, it depends.
If someone doesn't receive those well, then that's on them, right? Like if I go to you,
and then we go to the next step. What's it gonna be?
No, if I go to you and I'm like, hey, you hurt my feelings. Here's why.
We're so different.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like.
But no, and if you just like fuck off, I don't care. I'm like, okay, that's how you feel. That's fine, and I'm gonna disengage. I'm gonna walk away. I mean, I know you wouldn't.
I know.
But I know that that's happened to me.
Even thinking about like if either of us did that to each other, I'm like, oh, so shitty.
Well,
Never.
I've had that happen to me with my best friend, right?
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, we had a fight. I'm sorry, and she's just like, I don't care. I'm mad. I don't want to ever talk to you again. I'm like, okay, that's your opinion, that's your feeling, and you're welcome to have that, right? Mm-hmm. Like everyone is welcome to have their own feelings. I'm usually very quick to diffuse stuff as well as emotions start to get heated, because I know you're the one, you call me and you're like, oh, I'm fired up, and I'm like, okay, take a couple breaths, let's calm down.
Oh yeah, no, I texted her the other day. I was like, I'm spiraling. And that's all I said. I was like, I'm spiraling because I'm not one of those fire off a bunch of texts for the most part. Like I give you enough to give you the information, but I'm not like spiraling about like how this person's a piece and like how all this stuff.
No,
like,
but you will usually message me because you're spiraling in your own head. So I'm like, okay, let's take a second. Let's ground ourselves.
Yes.
Let's take a couple deep breaths. Let's think about why you feel the way that you feel.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people need to know that the feelings they're having are valid, right? Because you'll call me or I'll call you and be like, okay, I feel like I'm acting crazy right now. But Dana.
Where?
She chatted.
Dana!
We love Dana.
We miss you.
Oh my God, I love her.
Oh my gosh. She's
Sorry, I just
so
saw
sweet.
that pop up. But I think it's important to have that person in your life that says, no, you are 100% allowed to feel the way that you're feeling.
And you literally said that to me in exact words. You were like, what'd you say? You said that you are allowed to, whatever you are feeling is valid. You are allowed to feel those feelings.
You are allowed to feel however you feel.
It comes from a place,
It comes from
right?
somewhere.
It's not gonna. And I'm really, really good about separating how I feel in the moment and how that person treated me from traumas. There's a lot of things that may be triggering to you in certain conversations, and I'm really good about separating what's trauma and what's in the present moment, what he's doing.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, though, to, one, accept and understand the way you're feeling is valid. You're welcome to feel the way that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Those feelings are valid. However, let's think about where those feelings are coming from and make sure it's coming from a place of healthy thinking.
And I was telling you that I had like abandonment issues.
And,
so I was
not
like,
trauma.
I'm feeling abandoned at the moment.
So it's really easy for me to talk to you and say, okay, so you're feeling abandoned. Why are you feeling abandoned?
Yep.
Because as you start asking, it's the same questions my therapist asked me, right? As you continue to ask questions, the person is able to work through how they're feeling and why they're feeling the way that they're feeling.
Right.
So they can then communicate that to the other person in a healthy way rather than sending a dude a message, you ain't shit. I don't F with you anymore.
I'm going to go hook up with your friend.
I'm going to go sleep with your friends.
So
you have a tiny weenie.
You know, girls, when you do that, that validates the men's decisions in their head so much more. When you say those things, like, I'm going to go mess with your friend, I'm going to do this, he's like, okay, I made the right decision.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
being with this girl. Like, you aren't hurting him by any means.
As opposed to when you take the high class way and you say, okay, or, you know what, I can tell that you're upset and you're hurt. Deal with that however you need to deal with that, and you can talk to me if there's something that you need from me.
I've literally said to a guy, he was like, he ended things or whatever, and I was like, okay. And he was like, what do you think about it? And I was like, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not going to beg you to change your mind.
You ended things.
I don't want to try to convince you.
Yeah.
Let me start the healing process. I'm going to start, grieving the relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I'm on my way, So like, no, and I don't know and I don't think men dip out to try to get a reaction out of women by any means.
I mean, if they do, that's a quick way to.
Because he didn't like that. He was like, wait. What? Like, he wanted me to...
Did you not care? Did you not...
Yeah.
I've had guys try to
like,
play those same mind games with me.
Did I not care?
Yeah. No, obviously I didn't care as much as you thought I did. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you didn't care as much as I thought you did, so...
Yeah, if you broke up with me, you're not the person I thought you were. And if you're playing stupid games, you're not someone that I need as a partner. Yeah. So, peace out.
I literally don't have time for the games.
No, it's ridiculous. No, and people that do that, the whole like, oh, I'm breaking up with him to get him to do what I want him to do... You shouldn't have to threaten that. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. I don't think it's going to work out well for you, but let me know how it works out.
You're going to end up real sad.
Crazy. Bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think there's a major difference in... Oh, wait, what were we talking about?
That we shouldn't just believe something that's told to us, basically.
So, the whole idea...
punch in the face is where we got off track.
Yeah, we got way off track with the punch in the face comment. But anyway... I think it's so important to keep an open mind.
Yes.
About things.
And you don't have to agree. It's okay to disagree.
Correct.
With people and stuff. With like the thing is, like, especially in the last few years, media has been a lot easier to access through our phones, through social media, through now you have influencers speaking on certain topics. Like, it's okay to disagree with those people.
Absolutely.
There's no right and wrong. There's no.
Nope. I mean, unless someone else is being harmed.
Exactly. But I mean. Those people are usually in jail. The people that agree with that kind of thing. So
I think it's important to keep an open mind about those kinds of things because there's always more information that comes out.
Yeah.
And if you are just firm on, diet, right? We can talk about a fad diet and you're just like, this is the new diet. I am just, no one else can tell me this is a bad diet. This is a good diet. So as people start trying to talk to you like, hey, did you see some scientific studies about this? What is it? The Atkins diet or something that came out years ago? People were like, so emotionally attached to this diet.
Is that like a keto thing?
To find out, it's very similar to keto, to find out that a lot of people suffered kidney damage from it. Yep. There are a lot of issues that happened, but those people that were like, nope, I'm not listening to anything you say. Jane Fonda, I don't think Jane Fonda ever supported Atkins, but whoever.
That guy from Parks and Rec.
Someone said Atkins diet, so I'm following the Atkins diet. Well, if you say so strict and rigid in your mindset, you will be blind to anyone else being able to give you an opinion. A statement I think we need to embed into our vocabulary is we can agree to disagree.
Yes, I've said that to people on my TikToks, like, no. And I was like, what do you mean, no?
You don't.
I'm agreeing to disagree with you.
I'm not going to sit here. You can just go talk to a wall and argue if you want.
Yeah,
I'm done.
What are you going to tell me I can't disagree with you?
I'm done having this conversation with you now. Good luck.
Yeah, so I don't know. They started getting like offensive and start calling people certain things.
I've literally told people to go argue with a wall. I'm like, I'm done with this conversation. You can go finish it with the wall if you want, but I'm done.
The funniest thing for me is when I have people, and again, it's okay to disagree, but even my followers that follow what I do harp on people that disagree with us. So, but it's so funny to watch. I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to disagree with me and you're going to be very extremely rude about it, my followers are going to come at you. And I've had like certain situations where I think it was one of my TikToks that blew up recently. A girl was just basically like calling me, she was calling me like, what's like the anti-feminist stuff, or like what's misogynistic? Is that,
it would be misogynistic, but that's kind of a male term.
I was gonna say no. Basically, there was a word. I don't know. Basically, like anti-women, all this stuff, and I was like, I'm not even gonna entertain this because it looked like a bot, and it was just like attacking me for being a horrible human being and like all this stuff, and then my followers just like. They all just came in and was like...
Feminism has accomplished a lot to help...
Love y'all, by the way.
help even the playing field.
Yeah.
You know, the suffragists, right? They were the ones that fought for our right to get to vote. That was incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely.
The women that have fought for our right to get to work and to get to live what would normally be considered an alternative lifestyle, which is working instead of staying home raising the family.
Giving us options, yes.
I think the fact that we have those options is amazing.
Amazing.
But what that gives us is the option to make a choice.
Yes, exactly. And because you don't want necessarily to work, you want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Well, and I think it's important to stand behind your choice. There's a scene from Sex and the City that I love where Charlotte decided to quit her job and be a stay-at-home wife. Her husband makes enough money, so she tells her friends, and her friends give her a little bit of flack about it. They're like, whoa, are you sure?
Yeah.
And she's like, yes, I'm sure. And then they're like, okay. So she calls her friend, and she's like yelling at her because her friend gave her a look, and she was like, do whatever you want. I have to go to work, though. So the friend, and Charlotte, the whole thing is she's just like screaming at her, I choose my choice. I choose my choice, which is insane. Yeah. Stand behind your choice, but also understand just because you decide to be a stay-at-home mom and I don't want to do that doesn't mean that you're inhibiting me from doing what I want to do, and I'm not inhibiting you from doing what you want to do.
Right. My life is completely separate from yours.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with you. My decisions harm you in no way.
No.
Have nothing to do with you.
No.
So get a hobby. You know what I mean? Instead of being all up in someone's comments saying how you shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. What should we be doing then? You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't do that. Like moms shouldn't be doing this. Shouldn't be wearing that. Shouldn't be.
You should keep your opinions to yourself. Yeah. You shouldn't be judging other people for something that is not harming anyone and not hurting you.
Exactly.
You don't want to see it? Don't look at it.
Exactly.
Scroll around. So I think we're almost ready to wrap here. We've got a few more minutes. But
is there a short one that we want to like?
I don't think so.
No.
But I was gonna say there's this cute little girl that I follow. Not cute little girl. It's a woman that I follow on TikTok she follows a very traditional lifestyle.
Yeah.
What would be considered like 1950s housewife. Okay. She doesn't work. She stays home. She talks about the fact that she has dinner cooked for her husband When he comes home, the house is immaculate. She has on makeup. Her hair looks good. She's dressed well.
Oh, the dream. I want to be a stay-at-home
She
mom.
like packs his lunches for him
and get ready and stuff like that.
Well, and so she makes certain comments like, you know, if I want to make a large purchase, my husband has to approve it first.
Sure.
There are women that are like coming for her throat. Like, what is wrong with you? You're setting us back so far. No, she's not.
There's nothing to do with you.
She's living a lifestyle. She's living a life that makes her happy. Her husband is happy. Why do you care?
Those keyboard warriors.
You don't get to have an opinion in my life unless I'm hurting someone. Or
and
something.
even if you want to comment on anybody's stuff, go ahead. It's going to boost the algorithm. It's going to keep my stuff coming up on your stuff. So.
Why are you getting that emotionally invested in someone else's life?
I know.
Are you jealous? Are you that unhappy in your life and that's what it comes from? Yeah. That's people that are unhappy with their own life. If you're not happy with your life, fix it.
It either comes from jealousy, insecurity, or both.
It's usually one of the two. Jealousy or insecurity. Yeah. I had a girlfriend of mine a few years ago that I made a comment like,
envy.
If so-and-so and I get married, like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home wife. I'm not going to stay home and, you know.
There are some women that literally say, I was born to be a mother. I was born to be, like, and take care of children.
I made a comment about being a stay-at-home wife, and she was like, just came at me. And finally I was like, hey, if you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still work your job? She was like, what? I was like, if you had the option, if you had an unlimited amount of money and you could stay at home and take care of your kids, would you? And she was like, well, yeah, duh. I'm like, okay, so if that's something you want to do, then have a conversation with your husband, figure out how to do it, but don't hate on me for living the lifestyle that apparently you would like to live.
Yeah, especially if he's happy. If he's happy to do all those things and he's getting taken care of, like, what's the problem?
She doesn't put her husband on her TikToks very often, and I'm very curious. But she also made comments. There are some things that she says, obviously, that I don't agree on everything. Because she made a comment that, like, she doesn't necessarily make her husband eat healthy food. She cooks him all of the food that he wants to eat. There are some things where it's like, okay, you might be catering a little bit too much, because if I love someone, like, I'm also going to want them to be healthy and take care of themselves. So there's a little bit of a give and take there. But like, again, if they're happy living that lifestyle, like,
absolutely,
you go, girl. Yeah. Good job. You have a good life. You're living your version of the dream, and I'm so happy for you.
I'm here for it. I support it. That is the absolute dream of mine, is to be stay-at-home mom, do some vlogs.
No.
Some vlogs. Well, then you can make money doing that, like she is. So that's not for you.
Kids.
Oh, well.
I'd be a stay-at-home dog mom.
Yeah,
cook, clean. Kids. Like, I have a niece. She's amazing. I love her. I watch her like once a week.
I want little mini-me's running around.
It's amazing.
I used to joke. I used to joke.
Get to, like, see all of the developmental things, but also
watch them learn.
When I'm ready to go to sleep, here you go.
Yeah.
This is your offspring. I am going to go to sleep.
Right. I used to joke with my my long-term ex. I was like, I just want to have kids to see if they look like me. I just want to see what miniature me's look like. And it was always a joke. And then as I get older, I'm like, I do want kids. I do want a family.
I'm slightly afraid of having children. Just because I know, like, I don't know. I don't think the world needs multiple of me.
There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You were able to sit here and have a podcast and talk with me.
I have little mini
2 hours a week,
running around, like, setting fires and causing chaos.
Well, then you got to bring it in. You're like, hey, I know you have all this energy, but you're going to have to harness it in something else. And then you put them in sports.
The trick is to not let the intrusive thoughts win.
Yeah. Well, then just put them in sports. They'll be fine.
I did see a puddle the other day, and I was like, I want to jump in that puddle. There were people around the puddle. I jumped in the puddle.
Did you really?
Full on. Just splasho.
You don't need children. You are a child.
It was the best moment of my couple of days. Yeah. No, it was great. I was looking at the puddle, and I was like...
See, I have the intrusive thoughts of like, hey, I'm on a bridge. Should I just...
I mean... Jesus.
And nobody does it, right?
Mine are slightly less suicidal, if we're being honest.
No, I've seen a lot of people say stuff like that. Like, some girl's like, oh, a tree.
No, I don't really have those thoughts. But, like, if I see a pile of leaves, and I'm, like, with my dog, I have a very strong urge to, like, throw her ball into the leaves.
Watch her jump into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would want to jump in the leaves.
I did that a couple weeks ago.
Or just mess up the leaf pile that they took so
well,
long to.
like my neighborhood, they were like had all of the leaves and they had blown them up into a huge pile. And I was like playing fetch with Stella, and I was looking at it, and the like landscaper guy was like, "You think she'd jump in the pile?" I was like, "Oh, absolutely."
You were just looking at each other like, "You think she would jump
I was
in
like,
there?"
"Oh, absolutely." He was like, You should throw the ball in there." I'm like, "What are you doing?" So I didn't even give him a chance to like rethink his decision. I tossed the ball in there. Stella goes, doop, doop, whoop, right into the leaves go everywhere. She had a blast.
Man.
It was so much fun. And
That's
then
adorable.
I left him to rake up the leaves again.
Yep, now he's got to rake up all his leaves.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes you got to live your life.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
He's probably sitting there like, "I get paid by the hour. Do what you want." Well, I think.
Oh man,
I
you think that's it?
That might wrap it for the day.
For the first live stream, everybody.
Our first live.
Do we get to see how many people tuned in?
We right now have 5
Hi.
or 3.
Oh, hey. Well, I think it says how what viewers we've had the whole time.
We'll be able to see it when we end the stream.
Word.
So,
All right, everybody, follow me on
everyone,
TikTok.
follow
Me on
follow
TikTok.
our socials.
It's at Emma Knutson 4 on Instagram and TikTok,
I'll put our link trees in
and it's Knutson by the way.
somewhere. I'll put our link trees and our something somewhere.
Okay, cool.
Bye. Oh, Dana said lives. Oh, so Dana said love you and miss you guys so much. By the way, lighting, audio, outfit, subject, everything looks awesome and very
Aw.
professional. So proud of you all. Dana, we love you, and
Woo.
please, Dana needs to be on one of our podcasts.
Seriously, girl, you need to come back.
She's a girl boss. Dana, send us a DM when you're going to be here so we can get you on our pod.
Yeah, you need to come in on one of these weeks that we do. We got to get her on some of our panels. I feel like she would.
She would be
You would
so much
school
fun.
the panel, girl. You would.
Dana,
You would do real well.
hit us up.
All right. Love
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next week.